Hello, Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about 6 ways to talk to liberals. I recently read Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind. I've been talking about it a lot on my Twitter and on Instagram, and I just recently finished it. So, the book is talking about the moral psychology underlying left and right on the spectrum of American politics. Cool. And how, by understanding the differences in approach by the two sides as regards morality, we can actually understand people better as individuals. Now, there were things about this book that I didn't love.
I want to preempt this, by the way. I've seen a lot of videos or articles or whatever, which are about the psychological differences between conservatives and liberals. And usually the good ones, the ones that I've seen, are like psychiatric studies, which seem to broadly indicate that conservatives are more prone to fear and paranoia, and that they're less like trustful of those around them. And that seems to be backed up with a lot of really substantive psychological research. And then every once in a while, you get the paper that's just like, see, the problem with liberals is that they have weak baby brains, just weak baby brain people. You know, conservatives, they're very very individualistic, very powerful, but all liberals are very dumb. They just don't want to work, you know? And those are usually like pop psychology articles written by demagogues who are looking to pay off their fucking alimony debts by selling another quick book.
Love, because Jonathan Haidt is a liberal, and he was writing this book for liberals so that they could try and understand conservatives. But in doing so, he ended up being a little bit condescending to conservatives and sort of stereotyping our morals and our values. But there were also some really valuable lessons in the book that I think were worth talking about and will allow us to view people on the other side of the aisle as people and not as enemies. And I think that that's just a really hard thing in American politics today, is that really often across the aisle we view each other not as humans, but just as someone who disagrees with me. We see them as their politics, and people are so much more than that. So even though conservatives and liberals disagree on a lot, we are all people, and it's worth trying to understand the other side. Now, before I get started, I want to get out of the way here and now the difference between leftists and wokeists on one hand and liberals on the other.
Wokeists? What? Okay, guys, you know what? Fuck investing in education, okay? Fuck investing in education. If you want to skyrocket America's average IQ or the world's average IQ, all you have to do is take everybody who uses woke as a noun, the wokeists. I've even seen a person say wokers, and put them on a rocket ship to Mars, okay? That's all you have to do. That's it. That's it. Anybody who's that dumb fuck? What's his name? Is it James Lindsay? No. Is it James Lindsay? That guy? That guy loves talking about this shit. James Lindsay. He's hold on. Yeah, it's James Lindsay. Hold on. Can we get this guy's Twitter? I was just subjected. This guy was just on Twitter saying that the wokeists are the reason why anti-Semitism exists, or something like that. Here we go. Critical race theory is the biggest threat to Jews in America. Yeah. The two tweets are directly out of a capital W woke book about white liberals. He's really dying on this hill. Jesus Christ. The critical race theory is a threat to Jews thing. This guy tweets like 40 times a day. I think 40 might be underselling it, actually. I wonder if he's doing okay. The only reason I know this guy is because one day he put an article out saying leftists don't want to debate any conservatives, and then a fuck ton of leftists replied to him, and he turned down every debate with every one of them, most of them because they didn't have a high enough follower count. A truer grifter has yet to be seen.
Leftists live out their woke ideology as religion. Even though it doesn't kind of look like a typical religion, it is one. They want to tear down our existing moral structures and society and start over from the beginning. They believe...
What do they mean the beginning? Like Anprim shit? What the fuck does that mean, the beginning?
that all of the things that we now accept, things that are common sense, things that define
common
morality,
sense.
define right and wrong, define our social structure, all of that was created during a time when there was too much anything, too much bias, racism, any ism to have any value or legitimacy or moral authority.
This is what I mean about the woke thing, by the way. Anybody who uses the term woke has literally no fucking idea, literally none, what they're talking about. What does this mean? Leftism is when they want to start over from the beginning and they don't trust, like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The only time I use the term woke is woke scold, and I have very specifically defined those people, okay? But to try to use the woke as like a way of denoting like an entire like mob of people, like a political ideology, it's ridiculous.
For the woke, for leftists, they believe that they are the only ones who know what true morality is and that we need to tear everything down and start over. Now,
Wait, everybody believes every political group is the one that thinks their version of morality is the correct one. How the fuck is this specific to leftists?
think about that. From their words and actions, it is very clear that they believe they are smart enough to tear down everything that we have known and start it over with their woke ideology. And anything that is not their woke ideology is immoral, wrong, evil, bad. We need to get rid of it and start from scratch using their version of morality.
So all she's said so far are that lefties are unique and that they want to restructure society in a way that conforms to their moral systems. You mean what literally everybody believes. Literally everybody believes this. This isn't even a vague accusation of imagined hypocrisy. This is just like, you don't know what politics is, and you don't like it when other people do politics that you don't like.
Can't really negotiate or have a fruitful conversation with leftists and wokeists because we're starting on entirely different
Wokeists. What is a wokist? What does that mean? Can we ask one of these people? Can I get James Lindsay on? What is a wokist? Can you describe what set of beliefs or what ideology? I'll tell you what, you know the reason why they use woke? You know why you hear woke more and more and more often these days? It's because they don't want to say progressive. That's the reason why. Because the people they're referring to are anti-racists and anti-sexists. They're pro-trans people. That's what they're referring to. They're just referring to progressives. They're referring to a group of people which encompasses the majority of the population of this country. Because as I understand it, a majority of the population of this country is at least somewhat accepting of trans rights. Somewhat. Not tremendous, but somewhat. She just doesn't want to say progressives. That's it. That's the only thing she's trying to avoid saying. It's the same reason why they called civil rights marchers Marxists back in the day, as they do with BLM today. It's the reason why they called abolitionists anti-white back in the 1860s and so on. It is the exact same way of rebranding your opponents to make them sound menacing and threatening, when in reality, the thing you're describing is generally better thought of than what they're trying to do.
Footing. It honestly doesn't make any sense to engage in conversation with someone who doesn't have common ground with us, because they don't look at how can we make things better from here. They think we need to tear it down and start over. This is completely different from liberals who, like conservatives, are trying to do the best for everyone, but are still working within the same framework as we have about morality and social structures.
What are we talking about? What framework? Wait, what distinguishes in her mind a wokist from a liberal? What does that mean?
Agreements with liberals can be significant, but very often they're more about practice than about principle. I believe that working with and talking to liberals can really create a fruitful conversation, and it's something that we should regularly and constantly pursue.
Why are you torturing us with this video? We're trying to send our support to Abigail Thorne by suffering through Abigail Shapiro. Is it just capitalism? No, as is the case with a lot of these people, I don't think they know what capitalism is or care about it. Ben Shapiro certainly fucking doesn't. The libertarian, free market, anti-immigration, anti-free speech dude. Yeah, capitalism isn't what they're defending so much. It's absolute moral autocracy. They just want control over society. Now, I don't know how much Abigail is in the know of it. It might be that I'm infantilizing her a little bit because she's like a young lady as opposed to Shapiro, who's some sort of guy thing person. So maybe I'm more inclined to charitability here. I genuinely don't know how much of this is just like a script being handed to her. I don't know. But she's saying some pretty dumb shit.
And this is especially true because we need liberals on our side to fight against this wokist ideology, this leftist wokist ideology. Conservatives and liberals need to work together to stand against that kind of thinking. But now that we have that out of the way...
What idea? Okay, nothing, never mind. Notice how she didn't mention a single policy position, a single idea, not even a single tactic, which she would ascribe to the quote-unquote wokists. Not a single one. Just that they want to impose their morality, which is what law is.
Let's talk about The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt and 6 ways to talk to liberals. Number 1 is to make people feel understood before trying to change their mind. Jonathan Haidt uses the metaphor of a rider and an elephant to describe how people think. The rider is conscious, active reason and logic, and the elephant is intuition. It's unconscious impulses. We as people like to believe that the rider is fully in control, that everything that we believe and everything that we do is controlled by our logic and our reason and our conscious mind. But the fact of the matter is that's not really true, according to Jonathan Haidt. He says that the elephant is in control more often because think about how heavy an elephant is in comparison to a rider, and that the elephant will throw its weight around more than we think, such as a visceral reaction. When the elephant does take control, the rider's role is to justify what the elephant did. And he'll think that it was his own idea.
What she's saying right now is completely true, by the way. I know a lot of you just disagree with it because she's saying it, but it's completely true. A lot of people, most of people's like higher fucking reasoning skills are dedicated 100% to post hoc justifying the stupid shit they do. Be honest, how many times have you done some dumb fucking shit and then like your brain like voids for a second and then you're thinking, why did I do that? And then you come up with a reason. That happens all the time. That's more than half of my political conversations. People will say stupid fucking shit completely out of intuition, and then there will be like a pause as I ask them why they believe that thing, and you can hear in their brain, they're like, I don't know, but then they have to like think of something because they don't want to look like an idiot, and then they think of the reason they did that thing. That's just how people are. People are just like that. You can get better at not doing that the more you train yourself to be introspective and self-critical, but everybody does that to some extent. I do that when I'm playing with my cats, you know? Sometimes I just give Artemis flank, a little big fat baby side, just a little smack, you know? Why'd I do it? I don't know. I just wanted to do it, okay? Well, I probably wanted to do it because I love him. I love smacking his furry belly, you know? You can say ass. I didn't mean his ass. Also, when I say smack a cat's butt, like, well, actually, I'm asking you guys. If I say I smacked Artemis' ass, do you imagine it as like I smack the back of his side, like where his hind legs are, or his literal back, like his butthole? Because when I think like I smacked his butt, I think of like the former, like hind legs, you know? That's what I imagine, yeah.
To do that, even if it's kind of after the fact. We often will have a gut reaction to things. We'll have a feeling and then end up explaining it and justifying it and reasoning for it afterward. We create a sophisticated reason for why we believe it rather than the other way around. It's not that we will have a logical thought and then our emotions follow. Usually our emotions will go first and then our reasoning will explain that emotion for us.
That is
Jonathan
true.
Haidt writes, therefore, if you want to change someone's mind about a moral or political issue, talk to the elephant first. You basically want to understand that the person you're talking to, you're actually talking to their elephant and not to their rider. You have to appeal to their emotions first before trying to appeal to their reason. So you want to be nice. You want to be kind. You want to show that you do understand their point of view and that you can work with that. You understand what they're saying. And then you can start to appeal to the rider. Because if you were immediately to just say, you're dumb and here's why, then no matter how well well you convince the rider, the elephant still won't lean in your direction. And therefore, it won't matter that you've convinced them logically and you've given them reason after reason, because intuition-wise...
Okay. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This right here is the baby butt, okay? Pap, pap. That's what I mean. This is the baby butt. This side area. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? Pap, pap. And this is the head. In case my art didn't. That's not a cat. It looks cat enough.
In their stomach, in their visceral reactions, they will not be able to agree with you. So you always want to make sure that when you're talking to someone on the other side of the aisle, you make sure they feel heard, they feel understood, that you are showing them that you have good intentions when you talk to them. Because if it just comes off like, I have to convince you no matter what, then they're not going to feel like they can accept that reasoning. That line of reasoning will not matter, and you will lose your opportunity to maybe change someone's mind.
This is smarter than anything Ben Shapiro's ever said in his entire life. Yeah, actually it is. Maybe we can turn this into a constructive lesson. We can make fun of her, maybe learn a little bit. This is totally true. Usually you want to put people in a position where they feel like they aren't having to reflexively defend their intuition while talking to you. That's definitely the case. You want to be really, really careful about that. One really good example of this is trans issues, okay? This is rough justification. About 98% of transphobia is just visceral disgust, okay? No thought, no brain, no think, head empty, just like the idea to them is gross. You know, that's it. Just in their head, just blatant, just visceral nothing, you know? The same reaction that a kid has when there's like broccoli on their plate. Just nothing. It's just... but you can't really argue against that. Because if you argue with those people who just have that visceral feeling of disgust, well, you make an argument like, well, actually, there's no threat posed to... Trans people are much more the victims of violence than they are the perpetrators of violence. But then they'll think of another excuse. And then they'll be like, well, actually, that's not what gender means. And you'll be like, well, gender and sex obviously have different definitions, and language is only used insofar as it provides us utility for its use. And if we recognize that gender has a different set of definitions, and we try to go through all the lists of ways in which we can define a person's gender, if you boil it down, the only thing that really consistently makes for a definition is one's self-identity. And then they can be like, I just think that we're like promoting this and it's like hurting kids. And you can be like, well, actually the statement that we are over promoting trans issues in order to bring children over is completely like not the case at all, and blah, blah, blah. And you can do it forever, but you're not actually arguing with their arguments, okay? You're arguing with like really quick, thoughtless justifications. That's why arguing for trans issues can be so difficult with some people. Of course, sometimes people really do have those arguments, and if you assuage them, it can be effective. But often the only thing you can really do is try to put their emotional state in a position where they're not as reflexively opposed to the idea.
Number 2 is recognizing the thought process someone on the other side of the aisle is having when disagreeing with you.
Okay,
Jonathan Haidt writes, reasoning can take us to almost any conclusion we want to reach because we ask, can I believe it when we want to believe something, but must I believe it when we don't want to believe? This continues on with the idea of the rider and the elephant. The rider is often sent to find all of the information it needs to prove what the elephant wants him to prove, and then ignoring any other information. And the rider will again claim that it was his idea all along to think what he thinks, but really it was the elephant all along. We as humans have the capability to justify all of our feelings because we have both logic and intuition. So when the elephant feels something, the rider will go out and find what it needs to prove that. So if you're having a discussion with someone on the other side of the aisle and you are making logical arguments, you need to understand that they're probably asking themselves, must I believe this? Unless you have proven your point without a doubt and also made sure.
You know, I've been thinking about it, and I just came to a realization. It seems like, it seems kind of obvious in retrospect. Why do you think this video, which is about rhetoric, which could have applied to any type of conversation, opened with her saying to not do this and to not interact with leftists and quote-unquote wokeists? Do you know why? It's because they would lose those conversations. That sounds a little bit self-important, but I remember every once in a while, like they let it slip a little bit. There's like a forum post here or a video here, and the impression that I get from a lot of conservatives is the reason why they don't want to engage with leftists, not just like run-of-the-mill liberals, but leftists, is because we understand our own arguments and we're much capable of deploying them. We're not as susceptible to their attacks. We're not as susceptible to their tactics. A well-educated person will never and should never become a conservative, under any circumstances. There's no excuse for it. Maybe you were groomed as a kid into being a conservative by your conservative parents, or maybe, like, circumstances led you down that path. But if you're intelligent and not a conservative, you should not be susceptible to those arguments at all. They're not good. So they're telling you ahead of time, don't waste your time with the people who will win, or worse, the people who might convince you using the tactics I'm sharing with you now.
Or that the elephant feels comfortable changing gears, you won't have changed the other person's mind. So it's important to do both. Number 3 is that people in the West are weird. Let me explain what I'm talking about. So Jonathan Haidt writes, nearly all research in psychology is conducted on a very small subset of the human population. People from cultures that are Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic, which forms the acronym WEIRD. Weird people are statistical outliers. They are the least typical, least representative people you could study if you want to make generalizations about human nature. And another interesting point is that so often the people that are used instead.
Can you imagine how frustrating it must be to be outside of this group and to like see research being done exclusively on that group, you know? Like, imagine if you're like a woman in India or something, and all of the like broad international scientific research that you see is being done exclusively on like middle-class Western college students who are white, and it's like, okay, well, all right.
Studies are college students who are even more atypical than the average person. If you think about yourself in college, if someone were to use you as an example, it would just not be really reflective of people generally, of people working in everyday life.
She's literally, by the way, describing Eurocentric white chauvinist centrism, or like a Eurocentric like white chauvinist centric perspectives, but she can't use those terms because that would reaffirm the wokest arguments. I wonder why so much of this stuff is centered on the perspective of an incredibly privileged group of people who are overwhelmingly in West and white and what have you. What perspectives might this lead to? But nope, gotta demonize them from the beginning.
So what Jonathan Haidt is talking about here is how people in the West and weird people are people who only look at morality on one dimension, which is harm and fairness. They don't think that morality contains any other dimensions. It's just harm and fairness. But most people from other parts of the world think that morality has many different spectrums. Western liberals analyze morality based on the individual alone and not in the context of communities or social obligations. Conservatives, though, they view morality as the sum of many parts. They see that there's more to morality than just harm and fairness. What this means for
What? Wait, is she paraphrasing this from the book, or is she just mixing her own bullshit in here?
many different spectrums. Western liberals analyze morality based on the individual alone and not in the context of communities or social obligations. Conservatives, though, they view morality as the sum of many parts. They see that there's more to morality than just harm and fairness.
Wait, the first way wait, hold on. That's not a binary. Wait, so she said liberals view morality in an individualistic way. And then she said they ignore like community and what have you. And then she said conservatives view it as many parts. They don't just view it as like goodness or fairness. But those aren't the binaries. What she's really saying is that conservatives are collectivists, that liberals are the individualists who recognize moral achievements based on the accomplishments of an individual, whereas conservatives are the ones who assign a group moral weight based on demographics, based on community or religion. I'm pretty sure that's the actual thing that's coming out here. That's what the book tries to push. It actually kind of sucks. Well, it's true. Conservatives are way more the fuck collectivist than liberals are. The book was for liberals to talk to conservatives. She's just flipping the script. Well, yeah, I haven't read the book, obviously. Yeah. Really, how so? What do you mean, how so? Wait, when talking with conservatives, have you guys ever gotten the impression that conservatives actually care about the individual accomplishments of, like, individual people? Or do you feel like they tend to project a fuckload of like, stereotypes and codification onto everything and everything everybody does? Like that research showing that conservatives are way less likely to support a thing if they think it's like a liberal thing, whereas liberals are more likely to support a thing regardless of whether or not they're led to believe it's something being pushed by liberals or conservatives. Conservatives are incredibly prone to community bias.
What this means for conservatives who have a more holistic view of morality.
I'm sorry, the thing that she said was a little bit incoherent, but I think that's what's being said here.
Is that we have to show liberals that the other parts of morality do fall under the umbrella of harm and fairness. Jonathan Haidt actually doesn't say this in his book, but I think it's really important, and I think it's something he almost missed in the book.
This explains why it sounded incoherent. It's because she's going off script.
He says that there are 6 foundations of morality. He says there's the Care Harm Foundation, the Fairness Cheating Foundation, Loyalty Betrayal Foundation, Authority Subversion Foundation, Sanctity and Degradation Foundation, and the Liberty Oppression Foundation. I would argue that all of these principles of morality are actually also part of the Care Harm Foundation. And this is something that is super important to liberals because it's—
I don't subscribe to whatever the fuck moral system this is. This sounds like morality as described by somebody who doesn't understand philosophy. I'm sorry. Is this meant to be like a quick and easy, like here are some basic tenets of people's moral beliefs kind of thing? The reality is that most people have completely incoherent moral positions that they could not justify for the life of them. I'm not entirely sure. What we're working off right now is like, it feels like ethics for dummies, but then it's being channeled through her editorialization. I don't know.
It's the only thing that they see is moral. That's the only part of morality that generally matters to them. So if that's the only—
So liberals don't care about fairness versus cheating, liberty versus oppression, loyalty versus betrayal, authority versus subversion, and sanctity versus degradation. What?
Only one that matters to them, showing them how the 5 other principles of morality do actually deal with harm and fairness and deal with care and harm is something that can change the game when you're—
Okay, I'm sorry. We're so many layers removed from anything that I give a fuck about that I'm just going to skip out of this part. I'm sorry. I have no fucking idea. She's like misciting some pop philosophy, which is— but she's like flipping it, and then she's also saying liberals don't think that like a huge chunk of morality is morality. It's nothing. There's nothing here.
Also being destined to be left-wing or right and aren't that shallow. A good example is if you have actually been convinced of an idea that doesn't seem natural to your personality, you can successfully live a lifestyle that doesn't fit with who you are, in a sense. For example, if you're a more libertine person who has low anxiety, maybe wants to try a lot of new things, but you've been convinced about conservative ideas and conservative values and the meaning of religion, then you can live a conservative life. You can be a conservative, and vice versa. There are people who are conservative people who tend to feel more nervous about things or more strict.
I like how she added religiosity as a necessary prerequisite for being a conservative. Probably something she actually does believe.
Who are convinced of liberal ideas and then end up being more liberal. Life and people are broader than the categories we try to fit them into. So with that in mind, if you meet someone that has a personality that seems to fit more in one box or the other, that doesn't mean that they have to be that one thing. If you meet somebody who is more libertine and you think, well, they have to be liberal, that doesn't necessarily ring true. Number 5 is understand why liberals are skeptical of religion and groupishness so that you can really try and address their concerns. It's so important to recognize the differences between real religion and good community. And
how can conservatives simultaneously argue that they're the ones who believe in individuality and reject groupthink, but now she's saying that like one of the problems with liberals is that they haven't embraced the groupthink enough? What are we talking about right now?
And the version of those things that are bad. In discussing the new atheist perception of religion, Jonathan Haidt writes, if religion is a virus or a parasite that exploits a set of cognitive byproducts for its benefit, not ours, then we ought to rid ourselves of it. But what's fascinating is that religion actually binds people together and has done so for thousands of years.
I literally just can't fucking fathom how American discourse centered on the idea that being right-leaning meant being individualistic. I genuinely don't know how we lost that front. How the fuck did we get to be the ones branded as fucking, as collectivists? All Marx did was write about freedom from tyranny. That was the entire philosophical justification for everything that he wrote about. What's collectivist is people being forced into the cuck shed, fucking 40 heads to every room, to fucking type up spreadsheets for the benefit of their boss, okay? That's collectivism, all right? That is the true groupthink, all right? Real individuality is living in a society with minimized hierarchy where every individual has a stake in everything they're part of, where you have responsibility to the community and the community gives unto you what it can. That's freedom. That's individuality, okay? And if you really want to, you can go out there and live in the woods, okay? Godspeed. But like, conservatives are out here and they're like, yeah, dude, liberals are like so groupthink collectivist 1984 because they like taxes and stuff. Anyway, let me explain to you why wearing Trump merchandise for 4 consecutive years isn't weird, and why God told me last night that Trump is actually secretly going to win the 2020 election.
Religion has encouraged people to be trustworthy and do the right thing in the eyes of God and in the eyes of each other. And only the groups whose gods encouraged cooperation survived. True happiness only comes from the feeling of being part of something greater. That's why you have leftists and wokeists treating that philosophy as a religion, because it feels like they're a part of something greater than themselves. When you don't have real religion, you make one up. And so for people who are...
This is also a really common talking point of theirs. It's that religion is good, but the people I don't like treat their political ideology like a religion, and that's bad. What they're essentially saying is that religiosity is necessary for the human condition, and we worship a true God, whereas they worship a false idol. It's actually a really like, how do I put it? Kind of like a low IQ argument, kind of like the lowest IQ imaginable. I can actually imagine like the Cro-Magnons banging rocks together and like murdering like neighboring tribes because their altar had 3 arms instead of 5 or something like that. Like it's such an unbelievably lizard, primordial, uncivilized argument. Like, I believe in religion, but my God is the true God. Those Marxists, though, when they say stuff like slavery is bad, sounds like I'm not the only religious person in the room. It's of course, my God is the true God. So it's like Crusader logic. Come on.
Are participating in religion, it brings them joy, it brings them happiness, and it's super important to creating communities, creating good behavior among societies.
Now we got it too. Religion is the root of morality. Then why, pray tell, Abigail Shapiro, am I a more moral person than you? Curious. Then why is it that the church has historically been against every major civil rights battle in American history? Really curious. Was the church in favor of trans liberation? No, neither are you. Was church in favor of civil rights or gay rights? No, not quite. Was it in favor then of abolition of slavery? No, no. Interesting. Religious ties between the Nazi regime and the rest of Europe? No, don't talk about it. No, there's absolutely no relationship between religion and morality. Literally none, okay? And by the way, religiosity only correlates to morality insofar as a person believes in divine command theory, and nobody actually fucking holds up their lives as though they believe in divine command theory. Literally nobody does, okay? If people actually believed in divine command theory, they would be absolute psychopaths because they would be following the letter of the word of all the religious texts they could get their hands on, okay? Nobody actually believes that shit, and tons of people who are religious do commit sins and then like get all apologetic about it afterwards. These people really believed in divine command theory. They would not be sorry, choking over my words here. I'm just so emotionally worked up with these bad arguments, you know? They would not be acting that way. What a lot of people are, though, are the elephant and the rider, where the elephant is them wanting to do whatever the fuck brings them comfort and happiness, assuages their lizard brain fears, and the rider justifies what they did by saying there was some religious justification for it. That's the truth of religion, okay? You don't need religion to do good things, but religion often helps you do bad things and feel good about yourself afterwards. That's what religion lets you do. It gives you a metaphysical justification for doing things that you couldn't conscionably justify using conventional reasoning.
It's really important, and being able to show why, from a societal perspective, religion is a good thing and not a bad thing is going to be a really good talking point with liberals. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory said, "The meaning of a system cannot arise within the system. The meaning of our lives must come from outside of ourselves." Number 6 is that liberals don't understand conservative ideology the way that conservatives understand liberal ideology.
Oh yeah, dude. Conservatives are just so fucking good at characterizing any political position outside of their own. Actually, I take that back. They can't characterize their own political positions either. Remember like 2 seconds ago, we were looking at quotes from Thomas Sowell, where he's like, I understand why people like socialism. It's because socialism is when there are leeches on society. Like,
the reason that liberals don't give conservatives the benefit of the doubt is because they truly do not understand the way that we think. They don't understand that conservatives are really trying to bring about more happiness in society by encouraging society to be a community built on values that are accurate about human nature and moral virtue, and which have rules that are the proper balance of humility and aspiration. And the reason liberals don't understand this is because they're weird. They view everyone as individuals.
Okay, wait, I'm really sorry. Hold on, I missed that. Hold on.
Memory said, "The meaning of a system cannot arise within the system. The meaning of our lives must come from outside of ourselves." Number 6 is that liberals don't understand conservative ideology the way that conservatives understand liberal ideology.
My brain just
The
didn't
reason that
process
liberals
that.
don't give conservatives the benefit of the doubt is because they truly do not understand the way that we think. They don't understand that conservatives are really trying to bring about more happiness in society by encouraging society to be a community built on values that are accurate about human nature and moral virtue.
Human nature and moral virtue. So what she's talking about right now, it's really funny how when she opened this video, her criticism of leftists and the woke was her saying that they believed in their moral system like a religion and they wanted to reshape society around it. And now she's saying liberals don't understand conservatives because conservatives want to reshape society around their religiously oriented moral values. What, like, these fucking videos parody themselves. It's insane. Again, this is why I say that unless you're already a conservative, intelligent people can't be moved over to conservatism. Any reasonably intelligent person should be able to watch this video and realize that it is insanely internally contradictory. And by the way, it would be more internally contradictory if Abigail was smart enough to be specific with any of the shit she believed in. Also, human nature. Citing human nature as a source of morality is literally a fallacy. Actually, a written and well-known fallacy. But here it is invoked, unironically.
And which have rules that are the proper balance of humility and aspiration. And the reason liberals don't understand this is because they're weird. They view everyone as individuals. They do not see...
I thought we were the collectivists! How can you...
the communal binds that make people happier. And in doing so, in breaking people apart into individuals, they are making people lonelier and sadder.
I would love it if she could describe what the fuck she thinks this means. What does she mean breaking them apart? What does that mean to her? Actually though, what does that mean? Can somebody explain to me? I would love to know. What does that mean? Now, my argument for the atomization of the individual is rooted in capitalism, but Abigail Shapiro isn't nearly smart enough to be operating on that wavelength. So what is she referring to here? I thought the reason why conservatives got mad about liberals and their groupthink was liberals breaking down everybody into categories like race and gender and stuff like that. But now she's saying the opposite, and she's saying the problem is that she doesn't break people into categories or communities, and she only views people as individuals. This video is incomprehensible. Yeah, literally Evangelion. Yeah, there's nothing here. It's empty. I'm empty now. Oh shit. Abigail Shapiro might be absorbing our energy. Oh no.
Because they don't see what the connections actually bring. They believe that personal freedom in every moment is the highest possible good. And they have forgot that in the pursuit of liberty in this sense, they have actually made people sadder and more alone and deprived them of the duties and obligations that give people meaning. So the thing that's super important as conservatives is to show them what conservatives really think and to show them how we think, instead of just random rules and puritanism that they think that we believe in because of social media and movies and pop culture. So you want to make sure
this is literally fascist rhetoric. Yeah, of course. All of this sums up perfectly to the idea of the fascist, okay? So we have simultaneously decrying your opposition for being collectivist while also promoting the virtue of the community above everything else, saying that there are inherent moral distinctions between you and your opposition, saying that things such as God and human nature should dictate community group values. These are this is the moral foundation for fascism. This is I don't know how much of this is her again, how much of this is Ben Shapiro jerking off over her sleeping body at night sometimes when he breaks in and then he runs at the sound of a creaking door when her parents wake up. I don't know how much of this is osmosis from family members. I genuinely don't. But it's incredibly fucking weird to see a person I guess it's an aesthetic thing because I'm usually when stuff like this, these political values are being vomited into my ear hole, it comes from weird fucking guys, you know? I expected from Ben or from Paul Joseph Watson, but she looks like a makeup YouTuber, which makes it so much more sinister feeling. Does that make sense? Chat, that was a call for? You fucking people. Are you seriously kidding me? How many tweets have you liked and laughed at where the joke of the tweet was Ben Shapiro's creepy to his sister? Then I speak out loud the equivalent of that tweet and all of you are fucking mad? You fucking hypocrites. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay? None? Oh, okay. Well.
Sure that they give credence to your arguments in the first place just because you are giving them reason to understand how you think and why you think that way. So those were my 6 ways to talk to liberals, to convince liberals, to have a conversation with liberals, and to really try and understand them and have them understand us.
The sad thing is the first 2 points were actually teachable. You know, the first 2 points that she laid out were fairly teachable, but past that point, we plummeted. Okay? We plummeted.
I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments, have you read Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind? I really enjoyed it. I thought that it had a lot to teach us, and I really helps out my channel when you do that everywhere on all social media at
Okay. That's the opera sing. That's the opera. Credentials popping out. Very nice. She's keeping the comments on. She isn't a coward, I'll give her that. She just never reads. I sincerely doubt that Abby has anything to do with this YouTube channel. I think she just records it, and then somebody else, or multiple other people, handle everything else. She just does the recording. Probably other people write the scripts, too. Yeah, she's not like a YouTuber. I don't think she's reading any of this. Man, listen, Wendy's, how to talk to liberals in a nutshell, talk to them like they're a human being. True. You said you don't like to be stereotyped, but you went ahead and stereotype every liberal. A lot of the people dragging her, the thing that I really like about the people dragging her in the comments is that they're not lefties. Lefty insults are often, at least I'm tired of them. They're shallow and boring. You know what I mean? I know all the lefty Twitter memes about Ben Shapiro or whatever. I know all the, it's very easy to predict what they would look like. But these come off like regular people dragging her, which is way better. When public figures do stupid shit, when conservatives exist, when they breathe, when they sneeze or blow their nose. I don't want all the insults thrown their way to be contextualized in the writings of Vladimir Lenin. I want like normal people, you know, to be showing up to dunk on them, because that means they're being dunked on from across the entire political spectrum, or at least from more than just lefties. It's way, way, way better that way. I wonder how many arguments classically Abby has, or how many videos have been made where it just boils down to like X is good because it's natural. Haven't we've watched videos of her before. Those videos do tend to be like, she often resorts to that that type of argument, doesn't she? Responding to pro-choice comments in my pro-life video. I think we saw that one. Yeah, well, I forget why we did that. Did we psychically bolster Abigail Thorne? Maybe, possibly. I don't know.